Well, let's start off with calls for U.S. Senator Kelly Loeffler to step away from the Atlanta Dream, the WNBA team that she co-owns. She recently wrote a letter to the WNBA commissioner, and according to NBC News, Loeffler was explaining her opposition to players wearing Black Lives Matter and Say Her Name slogans on warm-up jerseys. She writes in the letter about the need to take politics out of sports, saying sports have the power to be a unifying antidote. She says she does not support what she calls the Black Lives Matter political movement, saying it wants to defund the police, remove Jesus from churches, and promotes violence and destruction across the country. Now, this has not gone over well with many current and former WNBA players. The Players Union responding today on Twitter, simply saying enough OUT. The league also responded with a statement saying teams and players will continue to advocate for social justice, adding that Senator Loeffler is no longer involved in the day-to-day business of the team. The senator begins a campaign trip across the state tomorrow.